Good morning, everybody. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C. I'm joined by members of my team, including the director of the Department of Human Services, Rachel Pierre, as well as the director of the Department of General Services, which is the real estate arm of D.C. government, along with the city administrator for the District of Columbia, Kevin Donahue, and one of our new partners, the owner of this building, which we're going to talk a little bit more about today. Today, we are focused on a strategy that has been successful for the district in helping people who are unhoused, need to transition and stabilize into permanent housing. So over the last decade, it should be very clear that the district has invested millions of dollars in our family homelessness system, and we have invested in strategies we know have been effective in ending family homelessness, particularly short-term family housing. We know those strategies will also work in the individual homeless system. When I say that, I mean the system for people without children. The strategies that worked for reducing family homelessness, including a focus on prevention, reforming our benefit system, in piloting ways to support families as they grow their careers. We drove down family homelessness by 61%, and we are focused on making similar investments in our singles system. So because they offer non-congregate shelter, bridge housing, which is the type of service we're offering here, our first such program was at the Aston. In this program on the East Street is a low barrier service to entry for some people who otherwise don't want to and have not come into shelter. We want to use this facility as a way to make it easier to convert people to more permanent housing. The Aston, our first such of this model, has demonstrated that when we expand options, tailor our services, we can get better services, better outcomes, and get more people to come inside. So our message today, as it is every day, is that there is shelter space available in Washington, D.C., and we encourage everyone to come inside. If you are experiencing homelessness in our city, there are services to help you. Help is available. So with that, I just want to ask Rachel if she wants to add anything more about the great work that is happening with DHS, and Delano can tell us a little bit more about the project.
Thank you very much, Mayor. So we are very excited about this facility. As the mayor mentioned, this is the second of its kind. So it's really targeted for folks who cannot be well served in our low barrier shelter, and also our residents who have chosen to come in because they feel that our low barrier shelters cannot meet their needs. So we really will be focusing on getting people to come in to receive services, and then housing focused case management to help them to permanent housing. So we're very excited with this collaboration, and I'll turn to Delano, to Director Hunter, for a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Pierre, and thank you, Mayor Bowser. I want to echo their comments and their excitement about this partnership. I want to thank Jet Set Hospitality. I want to thank Ms. Merrifield for her partnership. We'll close on this building in a few weeks and begin services. I think you all have had an opportunity to see the facilities, and it's all about providing dignified housing, dignified opportunities. This is the model. I think DC is a leader, and we're excited to be a part of this. Many of the upgrades that you see in the basement, on the first floor, those are the specs built to DHS's standard. Much of the housing that you see in the above floors 1 through 8, we know this is going to be a great addition to our portfolio, and can't wait to close this property and begin services next month. Thank you.
Kevin, do you want to add a little bit more about our thinking and taking advantage of this opportunity?
Thank you. Let me describe sort of where this fits within the continuum. So we have a set of low barrier shelters that are available to anyone. We still have capacity at them. We've also over the years invested heavily in housing that's in community, sometimes within buildings, sometimes distributed through vouchers, through permanent supportive housing. And there has been a recognized need for individuals who are unsheltered. They don't often want to come into low barrier shelter, but they may not be ready for a voucher. So we needed to be able to have part of the portfolio be a building like this that allows for someone who otherwise might turn away the opportunity to go inside, but they'll come here. And when they're in here, there's services on site, there's food on site, employment services, mental health services, substance abuse services, case management services that will then allow someone to stabilize and be able to transition to permanent housing that will be in community, and they'll be in a building with folks who have common lived experiences with them, and is an incredibly successful tool for being able to have a humane place to go, often for people who are right now unsheltered. We think ultimately there'll be 60 to 70% of the people who are in this building will come from the street. They will all be, everyone in the building will be homeless in DC, some of whom will be in low barrier shelter right now. So this is an investment that we made that we recognized a few years ago, that if we do this, we can make a meaningful, noticeable difference in the lives of people that are unsheltered in community and will be seen by the whole city. The Aston was the first example of this, which is enormously successful. This is the second example of this, and I really think this is one of the pillars that represent DC having a true continuum and really being a model for the rest of the country.
Okay, so we'll be able to take a few questions. Yes.
Is DC safer since Trump has brought in the National Guard? And has the forceful removal of the homeless people by the National Guard, has that helped at all in DC solving the homeless problem, or is that causing you guys problems?
Well, it's always our value and approach for people to come inside, which is why we have invested millions of dollars into our system. We think that the safest place for our neighbors who are unhoused is to be on a pathway to permanent housing. So in one of our shelters that we've invested a lot in, and also on this continuum is bridge housing. So we continue to use our outreach workers, the services of the Department of Human Services to get people to come inside because we have space. Yeah.
When we're talking about unhoused folks who are unsheltered, who are living on the street, they're obviously the most vulnerable to some of these sweeps that we're seeing the federal officers facilitate. Are there plans to bring any more beds online in the immediate term, knowing that places like this might not come on until next month?
Oh, we already have. Let me ask Rachel to talk about that.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have, and I really want to emphasize the point that we have space for anybody who wants to come in. Since August 8th, we have not turned away anybody from shelter. We've expanded capacity to meet our demand. We watch the census daily, and we have the ability to continue to expand into other sites to meet the capacity. So nobody's being turned away from shelter. So we have space. That's the message. Please come in.
Mayor, a question about some of the arrests, the pickups, I should say, of these homeless people. I've been noticing compactor trash sanitation trucks taking their possessions. What is the policy about taking everything that these people have and throwing everything out when they are picked up for being homeless?
Well, let me say that with regard to the federal law enforcement are being responsive to the president's executive order. And our policies are to advise of when we need to clean a homeless encampment, give people the opportunity to move, and then we clear the homeless encampment. And the notification period varies with the conditions at the encampment.
Do you have the option of notifying them before the federal enforcement takes place?
That has been our approach, and will continue to be our approach, no matter where anyone is in the district, whether it's on a local road or park or on a federal park. We we have worked cooperatively with the National Park Service in the past to give people that notice. The last thing we want to see is just people moving around. So our teams now continue to try to identify where people have gone, and so that we can get them into shelter. Yes.
Rafael with Channel 9. Mayor, follow up on that response, actually. We are seeing, since the encampments have been cleared, people moving around. Can you talk about the outreach? And then can you also tell me strategically why this area was chosen in the city? We were talking about downtown being, some of the areas that you want to get people in housing.
Well, it was chosen because it was available. And during, I don't know what period of time now, probably 2021, 22, we were looking around for opportunities to get property, and we thought this one was a good fit because of the size of the rooms. And if you've toured the Aston with us, it's similarly situated where we have access to bathrooms, we have access to common space, and we have a good number of rooms that are the right size.
And just the outreach that's being done, people obviously are not in these encampments, but obviously might be moving around the city. Just talk to us about what the team does to kind of get them into housing.
Sure. And so what the teams, and let me just say this for anybody who's not familiar with this, is about the hardest work you can do. People don't live on the street because everything is okay. All right? It's about the hardest thing you can do. And it is still not illegal to be homeless. You cannot have camps, you cannot have tents, but it's not illegal to be homeless. And people who are on the street are generally having some tough circumstances. And to compel them to come inside is a legal matter. It's a legal process. Some people need to be compelled because they can't make that decision for themselves. And so our outreach is about making sure we know who people are. We know, oftentimes we know exactly who they are because they've been touched many, many times. And getting them to come inside remains our top priority. So right now, what's different is we're trying to, and I think we can, find out if people have moved. If they've moved out of the city, if they've moved around the city, to make sure we can connect them to service. But the message is, come inside, there's space. Yeah.
Nathan Elgren with the Associated Press. Can you reemphasize why this is called bridge housing? It's a transitional period of time, how long residents might be able to stay, but then secondarily, the end-all goal, to get them into permanent housing and the obstacles there, the lack of funding for vouchers that the city was able to provide in their most recent budget.
Well, I think it's important, and I'm glad you asked that question, is because while we have vouchers, our experience has demonstrated, is not necessarily the best choice for somebody coming off the street. They need to get stabilized, they need to get services, and they need to get ready to use a voucher. And that's what we see, the bridge, this is the bridge from the street to permanency.
And all the access that they have here to those services, all being on site, right?
They would all be on site. And we have also, I mentioned our experience with reducing family homelessness. When we're able to be in smaller settings, we find that the providers, and we have chosen a provider for this site, are more effective. They're just more effective, and so we're gonna keep pushing on that. Yep.
We're 2 weeks into this federal surge. Are you guys tracking the crime and seeing a decrease in crime, especially in areas like Ward 7 and Ward 8 that traditionally have higher crime rates?
We've been experiencing a decrease in crime for the last 2 years. We expect that having 500 additional officers will yield more arrests. And we we want guns off the street. Our police officers continue to do the work, and we expect some incremental difference with more officers. Yep.
Mayor, a question about the homeless and then follow. Sorry, you need the microphone? Okay. As far as customers here, are couples allowed, and the capacity, and then also I've been asked to ask you, or someone that has knowledge, what is the state of youth homelessness right now in the city?
That's a good question. So couples are permitted. There are 102 rooms and occupancy of 204. And let me ask Rachel to talk about youth.
Thank you. So we have a separate system for young people, youth between the ages of 18 and 24, but in some instances, it's possible that we could also serve young people in this facility. What this facility just won't serve families with minor children, but anyone 18 to X will be eligible for this facility.
All right, Mayor, I have a follow-up for you. Tuesday night, you went over to 7D, and you were there with some federal officials. I've been told by sources that are familiar with the conversation in the room, that when it was opened up for questions, that one police officer said, what happens after day 30? And that there was a federal official, and I'm not sure who it was, who said, we're not going anywhere, and we have a 4-year contract. Were you in the room? Did you hear that statement, and what's your reaction to it?
I think it doesn't mean anything. I don't know what that means, so I can't comment on it. This is these are the facts, that the federal emergency ends in 30 days. It can only be extended by the Congress. And if the commitment from the federal government is to have federal support or officers that assist MPD, that's a different conversation.
Joint Information Office Task Force tomorrow, or Joint Information Center?
Oh.
Tomorrow? Is that right?
Well, that's kind of a inside government thing.
It's supposed to help us, though, isn't it?
It is supposed to help us help you. But what it is just a way of us organizing our comms officials. We already are doing that, but it puts a little structure around it. So all of our comms officials across the government are pitching in. Yep.
Two questions. One, can you all talk about the gap this fills? You mentioned lower-income barrier housing, obviously really important, but had some stipulation that maybe reasons why some people didn't or couldn't.
Yeah, that's a good question. Mm-hmm. Good point.
So just talk about the gap this does fill.
Sure.
And then my second, also touching on some arrests we've seen with immigration arrests, with the collaborations happening. Do you know right now if there are initial arrests happening, then finding out some people may be undocumented, or is the focus going after people that the agencies feel are undocumented right now?
Let me ask Rachel to address your question about the gap. A very good one.
So what's different about this space is that it does fill a gap that we have in the system. For example, we think about it in 4 categories of people who will be served here, who typically cannot be well served in a low barrier shelter. Adult families, couples, singles who may have higher health needs, for example, who cannot be served well in the low barrier system. And as the city administrator and the mayor mentioned, folks who are unhoused, who may choose to experience unsheltered homelessness because they don't feel comfortable coming into low barrier system. So folks who with high health needs, for example, folks who may be eligible for home health aides, they cannot receive those services in a low barrier shelter. Many home health aid agencies do not allow their workers to go to a low barrier shelter system. So this, as you can see, private rooms will allow for residents to receive the services that they need on site. And then they will also receive housing-focused case management and be connected to the diversity of intervention to get them to permanent housing.
Okay, I'm able to take a couple more. 1, 2.
Hi, Madam Mayor.
Hi.
Do you believe that the Trump administration's surge of federal law enforcement is more of a pretext to enforce immigration law as opposed to fight violent crime in D.C.?
Well, this is what I know is that our police department has been consistently, precipitously driving down crime for the last 2 years. I think up before the federal surge, more than 25% down. Last year, more than 35% down on, I think, all categories of violent crime. And so we know that that's has been effective work with the police department. We know that the surge of federal officers is allowing for different types of deployment and more frequent types of deployment, like checkpoints. The request from the feds that was represented in the Pam Bondi order almost exclusively focused on immigration enforcement and homeless encampment enforcement. So I'll let you draw your own conclusion.
Ashraf Khalil with the Associated Press. You said earlier this week, you mentioned that you had asked Chief Smith to speak to the administration about the idea of the federal officers masking and saying that you didn't see a need for any law enforcement officer to go about their job with covering their face. Has there been a response? How has
I don't
that
think
conversation
we've gotten,
gone, and why is it important?
I don't think we've gotten a formal response. And you mentioned a meeting I had with MPD, and one thing that the MPD officer said was, well, we don't wear masks. No one should be wearing masks. And our officers are identified. They have a badge. They wear body-worn camera, and they are clearly identified to members of the public. Now, I've noticed all the federal officials are wearing their appropriate uniform or vest that identify them and their agency. It appears to be the DHS agencies, not the DOJ agencies, that are wearing masks.
Why is it important that that law enforcement not be going around masked?
Well, I think I would answer it this way. Why do they need masks? They're federal officials. They're paid by taxpayers. They should be doing their jobs in a way that's lawful and constitutional, and that's part of the job. And so I don't know why anybody needs to wear a mask. I mean, I think some people identified in some of these drug type situations that masks could be part of a PPE, if you will. That's not the case in the work that they're doing here. Okay, thank you, everybody.